And we are live. This is Nick from P2W Fantasy. I'm with my buddy Fontaine, and
What's going
we
on?
are going to talk about week six and just get right into some football. All right. So I'm actually rocking the P2W tank top. The only issue is I think that it shrank, so it's kind of like a baby small right now. So
You've been
I'm
you've been
dealing
going
with
hard
that.
with the merch, man.
I know. I got a good plug for that stuff.
That's good.
Same person who drew up like a recent tattoo, but yeah, I need to invest in some more. I think, especially if they're shrinking a little bit.
No, that's good. I may need to talk to that guy,
Yeah.
honestly.
So today I'm here with Fontaine. Fontaine is a guy I actually graduated high school with. We got tighter actually after high school once we were into this fantasy league together, and that's a tight knit group. And Fontaine's actually grown into one of my better friends now. So I'm happy to have you on, Fontaine. Uh,
Absolutely.
can you maybe just for the people listening, can you just maybe talk about the two leagues that we're in, what kind of leagues they are, and how that's going?
Okay, so all right, so the first league that we joined together, that was Ryan's league. It's a super flex. That one is called the Infinity Gauntlet, which Nick, he won the championship for that last year. That was a lot of fun. Really, really, really fun league. Nice group of guys. The theme of it, it's all Marvel themed, so it's dope. We all got Marvel characters, Marvel names. It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Uh, I almost didn't make it to the end of the draft. Well, I barely made it to the end of draft night. I think I might have left with a couple of picks. I think somebody had to pick for me. I was pretty much done at that point. But
Yeah, it was a
that
long day.
that league's a lot of fun. That's a fun one. And then Nick started a league this year, BMF. That one's cool, and then that one's DC based, which is IDP. That one's pretty cool. I got some good linebackers there, and yeah, just talk a lot of fantasy, watch a lot of football, hang out with the guys. It's always a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Um, it's just great.
yeah,
Always a
and
lot of fun, man.
that Gauntlet League, I think I'm 5-0. I think you're 4-1, and I'm
Yeah,
I'm not being cocky about my team, but or talking about anybody else, but you're like the one matchup I'm a bit nervous about in that league. So it's gonna be fun when we
no,
actually
no,
play.
it's yeah, no. Likewise, man. I'm definitely nervous about your matchup too, especially when you get McCaffrey back. I don't know what's gonna happen. You might end
We'll
up
see.
when he comes back and if he starts balling again, you might run away with it again. I gotta have a couple players, have some big games, and hopefully they can stay consistent. We'll see what happens. I'm excited to get Cam back, so we'll see how that
Yeah,
goes. But it's neck and neck right now, man. It's
yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, it's tight.
Exciting
So I
stuff.
think you are the leader of the villains division. I'm the leader of the heroes, and then on the other league we're in a IDP league. That one's tough, man. Because I thought for sure me
It
and you both
is.
had some like solid team. Like we're
Oh
about to be
man.
4-1 or something, and we're both struggling a little bit, but it's fun.
Oh man, it's a lot of fun. And I had high hopes. I had high expectations. I feel like I jinxed myself a little bit. The final standings projections, it's just like you take a look at that and then it gasses you up a little bit. It's like, oh yeah, like my team must be pretty good just based off of the numbers, but it hasn't been that at all, man. Like I think I'm dead last uh in the hero section. And yeah, it's been a journey, but it's cool. It's my first IDP, so it's a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
it's fun. It's fun.
And just seeing how that goes, and the rosters are big. It's a lot of fun, but we're gonna roll with it. It's a dynasty, so
Yeah,
it'll be fun. It'll be fun
not
for
as
years
bad
to
as
come.
not as bad as Anthony. So that's all that matters. I think he's the worst in that league. So I always
Yeah,
give him some shit about
yeah,
that.
I think he's like 0-5. I feel bad even mentioning that
Yeah,
right now,
I won't
man.
roast him
But
too bad though, since he's not here. But hey,
no, he'll
let's.
be okay. He can dish it out too, so
Oh yeah, that's true.
he'll
That's
he'll,
true for
he'll be
sure.
all right.
So let's get into some week six. So I hit you up and said, hey, let's talk start and sits for the week. Usually we hit
Yeah.
up some other topics, but I figured this will be a straightforward broadcast. What I thought would be a cool idea first though is just to read off the top five guys right now per position.
Mhm.
Just pulled it off of Fantasy Pros. Some guys had a buy already. like a COVID bye like Titans. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
let's go through the top five quarterbacks right now as everything stands. We got dangerous Russell Wilson at number one, Patrick Mahomes
Hmm.
number two, Josh Allen number three. Dak Prescott was number four, so he'll be out for the season. And then Kyler
Yeah, that's
Murray
rough.
is number five. So out of those top five, anything surprising to you?
Um, well, I mean, I guess you got to say just prayers to Dak Prescott and
Yeah.
the ankle injury, man. Like that's pretty crazy. I was hoping that he was going to be able to make it through this year, especially with it being like a big deal with the contract and everything. He's trying to get paid, and um, out of those five though, I mean, I'm not necessarily surprised that Josh Allen is in the top five. Well, he's in top three.
Yeah.
Uh,
As of right now, yeah.
I'm not necessarily surprised, but I mean, I wasn't expecting him to like. I was thinking he might struggle a little bit going into the year, but I mean, he's been hot. But other than that, I feel like everybody is pretty much about where they needed to, where they need to be. Kyler Murray, I was a little bit worried about him. I drafted him in a couple of leagues this year, so I was a little bit worried that he might not show up the way that he has. But I mean, he hasn't disappointed. I mean, at all. I mean, he's been very solid for me.
Yeah, and that
How about
connection to Hopkins has been like on point. We were a little bit uh
yeah?
some guys question like would Hopkins regress, and he really hasn't. I think we'll get into him where he lands, but yeah, Russell Wilson, I think, I mean, not a surprise that he's a top five quarterback, but I don't know if a lot of people had him slated as a number one guy right now. I mean, Lamar Jackson's out of the top five. Patrick
That's
Mahomes
true.
is number
That's
two,
true.
but I'm hoping Russell Wilson in these games just continues to light up your boy Dak. I know you got Dak on the Gauntlet League, so I hope he continues to step up, and even Tyler Lockett, who's had a rough week or two, has been a stud though this year.
Yeah, yeah. And they're calling DK the second coming of Megatron right now, which is so he's got a lot of hype. And I mean, I'm glad that I drafted him after I saw that picture that went viral. That was really it. I didn't even really watch very many of his games at all.
Like this guy
And
looks good.
I was just like, oh, this dude he's built like the Incredible Hulk. I'm like, why wouldn't I draft him? So I mean, he's been great. And yeah, Russell. I mean, Lamar not being in the top five at this point in the year. I mean, I wasn't expecting it. It's not like he's playing bad. I mean, they just have a few miscues on the team. I think he'll pick it up. But yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
think
cool
so
to see
too.
Russell this high. He's definitely out to prove something this year for sure. For sure,
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
think
I think
so.
he's feeling like people have forgotten about him. I mean, he's been to a couple Super Bowls. And yeah, it just seems like he's looking to prove something this year, but we'll see what happens. Their defense, I don't know how that defense is gonna hold up down the road though.
And
I mean, but we'll see. We'll see what
it's
happens.
almost like
It's
that defense is setting him up to be successful because he has to throw the ball so damn much.
Yeah, exactly. And
Uh,
especially because they got a defensive minded coach too. I mean, it's just we'll see what happens. But I mean, he's been slinging it. It's been fun to watch.
yeah, for sure. Running backs here. Alvin Kamara, number one. Dalvin Cook, number two. Looks like he's going to miss this week. I'm pretty sure, though. Number three, Ezekiel
Yeah.
Elliott. Number four,
Yeah.
Aaron Jones. And number five, Chris Carson. Some of
Mm,
these guys, Kamara, obviously, we have a year without Saquon now with the ACL tear. Christian McCaffrey's
yeah.
missed a bunch of weeks. So Kamara's
Oh man.
jumped up into that number one spot. But the guy I'd like to just mention briefly here is Chris Carson, coming off of a year where he had that hip injury. A lot of people were
Yeah.
worried about him not being, ready to go, or somebody else, taking touches away. But I think he's
Hmm.
consistently underappreciated, Chris Carson. I don't have any Chris Carson shares, but I'm kind of mad I don't because he's so
Oh
slept
my
on. He's
God.
he's good. He's
He
good.
is. He is. And I agree with you there 100%. I had him last year and the dude worked wonders for me last year. He was amazing. I think he finished within the top five last year too. I
Yeah.
don't know exactly where, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, I had a couple of chances to where I could have drafted him this year and I slept on him. I didn't pick him up and I regret it. And I haven't really been checking for him much this year, but he's been balling out. And hopefully in the future, I won't continue to sleep. And if I can grab him at one point or another, I definitely will. I don't know. I think it was the injury because I think he got
Yeah.
banged up a couple times last year too, and I think that's what scared me. But whenever it's like he picked up right where he left off every game, and he would just continue to ball out. So, I mean, at that point, you just got to tip your hat to the guy, and yeah, you just got to just try to take the opportunity to grab him when you can, because he's a beast.
Yeah, so I agree 100%. Out of these guys, if you had to guess one of these guys who's going to finish the year as the number one, like we're going to obviously rule out probably McCaffrey just because he's missed a few weeks, so he's probably not going to be in that race. But
that's not
who would you think? Do you think it will be Kamara? Do you think it's going to be a guy like Zeke, or who's your pick if you just had to throw a dart on somebody finishing the year?
Let's see. If it's going to be anybody, who was 4?
So when right now, as of the top 5 is Kamara, Cook, Zeke, Aaron Jones, and Chris Carson.
You know what? I'm probably gonna have to say Zeke. And the only reason why I say that is because, I mean, Andy Dalton can throw the ball. I mean, he really can. You know, he's a decent quarterback, but I feel like Zeke is just gonna get more snaps now. And I feel like once Michael Thomas comes back from the Saints, I mean, he's still gonna get his touches, he's still gonna get his numbers at the end of the day. But once Thomas comes back, Brees is gonna be more reluctant to throw him the ball. I just see Dallas getting back to like more of like a run first like style offense, which is not that they don't have that, but they just have like amazing receivers right now. Like their receiving core has like, it's got to be top 3 in the league right now.
Yeah, like, and a bad defense.
Exactly. So they're going to throw the ball all over the place, but I feel like they're going to need to slow it down for Dalton a little bit more. Cause I mean, where Dalton can throw the ball, he doesn't have like the mobility that Dak has, and he's probably lost a couple of steps. So I got to imagine that they're going to run the ball a little bit more. But I mean, who knows? I mean, we'll see. But at this point, I'm going to say Zeke.
I think Zeke is a good pick just because of all the change dynamics of their team. They might have to lean on him a little bit more. If I had to throw somebody out there, I might go with Aaron Jones. With him being the RB4 right now, he already had his bye week, you know, and I think he's been a huge part of that offense in the passing game too. So it hurts me to say something good about a Packers player, but I think he might be my pick a little bit here.
Me too.
With the wide receivers, we mentioned earlier Kyler to Hopkins connection, and Hopkins is number 1. Number 2 is Adam Thielen. Number 3 is Calvin Ridley. Number 4 is your boy DK Metcalf, and number 5 is Stefon Diggs. Any thoughts on this top 5? It's hard to be a top 5 wide receiver just because there's so many wide receivers in the league. I mean, you know, it's so much of a more in-depth position, obviously, than the running back. Yeah, so to be a top 5 means a lot for these guys.
And it's a pass first league, you know. So I mean, it's a pass first league, so you got more receivers that are out there and that are up in the mix. I mean, everybody in that 5, I don't think I'm really surprised at anybody, to be honest. I feel like everybody is pretty much right where they need to be. I mean, it's tough to say. It's tough to say because you got some guys that are on the up and up. I'm happy that Ridley is where he is with the injury that he had and with the way that the Falcons have been playing. But I mean, at the end of the day, they're going to pass the ball, so you can't really sleep on them with that. Diggs is having a good year.
Great year.
So far so good with Allen, and everybody was worried that he was going to lose a step. I mean, I admit I was worried. I passed up on him in a couple of drafts, but he seems to be right where he should be. So
yeah, I like Stefon Diggs. I was a guy that liked him in the preseason. I thought he was going to actually be better with Josh Allen just because of the Vikings not really using him enough sometimes. And
that's true. That's true.
I also thought the big playability was there, but Stefon Diggs had like 16, I think I read, targets last game. So he's getting them all like thrown to him nonstop. And I think it's going to be the same way all season. So he's not going to regress for me. The one thing I will also go ahead.
And he's definitely that kind of player. Like he has the ability to where you can throw to him 10, 12, 13 times a game. You know what I mean? And he's going to catch the vast majority of those balls. Like, So yeah, you're definitely right about that. Minnesota, they would spread it around a little bit more. And yeah, it seems like a lot of times he was overlooked and he didn't get the ball thrown to him as when I thought that he should. But I mean, when you got
Yeah,
him and when you got him and you got Thielen over there competing for balls, it'll definitely be easy to get overshadowed a little bit.
yeah, I agree with that. And the interesting thing is, out of the top five quarterbacks and wide receivers, you got Wilson to Metcalf, so that's one pair. You got Josh Allen to Diggs, that's another pair. And then you got Kyler to Hopkins. So three out of the five top fives for quarterback and wide receivers are a duo. So that's interesting too. Makes sense that way. Last
Yeah.
position here for the year is tight ends. Number one, Travis Kelce. Number two, Darren Waller. Number three, Mark Andrews. Number four, Jonnu Smith. And then number five is Tanyan from the Packers. Obviously, Tanyan is the big surprise there. He was a no-name guy coming out of preseason. A lot of people thought it was going to be Jay Sternberger. We expected Travis Kelce. We expected Mark Andrews. We expected
Yeah.
Darren Waller. A guy that I actually made a major mistake with was Jonnu Smith in another dynasty league. It's actually Anthony's dynasty league that he runs. I had him and I dropped him because it's shorter benches. And
Okay.
I picked up Chris Herndon instead, and Chris Herndon's had a terrible year. And Jonnu Smith is like, what did I say, tight end 4 right now. So that was probably my biggest dynasty error of this year was not having faith in Jonnu Smith, and he's tight end 4.
I definitely slept on that guy too. I mean, I didn't think that he was going to be as good as he is right now. That's for sure, especially at this point in the year. But Tanyan, I definitely have to say Tanyan is even more of a surprise to me because I picked up Sternberger thinking that he was going to be the guy. I had no idea who Tanyan was or didn't think that he was going to do much. But I mean, Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he's just one of these dudes. Like he just spreads the ball around, doesn't matter who it is. And next thing you know, he's making household names for these guys. And yeah, Sternberger has just been sitting on my bench collecting dust.
That's true, and I'll talk more about Tanyan later. But yeah, that's I mean, you have a quarterback like Rodgers, and if he finds a guy who's hot, he's probably gonna stick with him a little bit.
Always, man. Yeah, always. That guy is just one of the best to ever do it. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I know. That's another guy I slept on because I thought he was not going to be that good this year, and he is good this year. So
yeah.
With the with week 6 approaching us, tonight we were supposed to be watching a football game, but with the COVID stuff, scheduling's all mixed around and everything. Yeah. So I mean, we get to jump on a podcast, I guess, instead and talk about football instead of watch it. But
which is good. I'm getting my fix right now.
Yeah. Just talking to somebody's always nice about it.
Yeah.
Thought we could get together, right, and talk about some starts and sits for the week. So obviously, we could talk about a lot of guys here for starts and guys that we're avoiding too. It's easy to say, hey, I'm starting Patrick Mahomes this week. I mean, everybody says that. So, we touched base briefly earlier about our, picks, and we didn't go the completely obvious routes with our picks. So I kind of like that. But yeah.
No, that's true.
Yeah. So Fontaine and I both have one start, one sit for quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and a tight end too. So Fontaine, we'll start with you with the start of the week for quarterback. Who is your guy?
Okay, so this week I'm definitely gonna have to go with Cousins. I know earlier when we were talking about it, I gave you a different pick, but I had a little bit more time to think about it. Like once I got a little settled in, and I was just like, you know what, we got this guy. He's going up against Atlanta secondary, and he's got some high receivers right now. They're all wanting the ball. So I thought about it a little bit more, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm definitely going to have to take Kirk. They're going to be passing the ball a lot. We don't know if Dalvin Cook is playing, but at the same time, Madison can run the ball pretty well, actually. Yeah. So he's projected to get high points this week. So that's happy. I got him somewhere. I'm gonna end up putting him in. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to go with Kirk. The secondary and the Falcons, they usually get torched, and I think they got the receivers to get the job done. So he's
Yeah,
definitely going to be a start for me this week.
that makes sense to me. Especially it's almost like playing the Falcons. Usually the quarterback or one of the wide receivers is an automatic plug-in sometimes.
Always.
That's a good pick. My QB start of the week is actually Ryan Tannehill against the Houston Texans.
I
Houston
like that.
actually ranks 23rd in pressuring passer, so that's not very good. Tannehill's coming off that hot 30-point game against the Buffalo Bills, who,
He had a great
you know,
game.
yeah, he had a great game. I mean,
He did.
we probably expected Allen to have those sort of numbers, but it was him. Jonnu Smith, we talked about him earlier. He's emerging.
Mm-hmm.
AJ Brown
Yeah.
is back, and AJ Brown had a great game.
That
So two
I
massive
needed him.
targets.
Yeah, I needed him back really
Yeah,
bad,
it
actually.
was good. And
Yeah.
in the 4 games, Tannehill's got 9 touchdowns in 4 games. So, I mean,
Nice.
playing against a team that is not going to get to him as often as some of the other teams. Playing against the Texans, where he's got now AJ Brown back. I like Ryan Tannehill.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's very slept on, and a lot of people thought he was going to regress from last year. But I think
Yeah.
he's on the right track to push for a top 10, top 12 finish this year. But we'll
think
see.
so,
I like
too.
him this week.
It's about the system. He's playing in the right system. You know, they're going to run the ball. They got a defense to back him up. I mean, he doesn't do too much with the ball, and when he throws, the throws are accurate. And when you're a quarterback like that, especially if you're not like one of these like super mobile guys, like people underestimate like how great a play action fake is. Like I think they run play action just as good as anybody, if not like the best in the league right now. It's
You got
fun to
that
watch.
linebacker in the back. They got a linebacker playing running back for them. So
Exactly.
all eyes are on him all the time.
Exactly. It doesn't make any sense. That dude he's ridiculous. I keep on thinking about that stiff arm from Tuesday, man.
I think I felt that through the screen. I fell back for a second.
Me too. That was ridiculous.
That was too much.
I don't think I've seen anything like that. Not in a while.
That guy's soul left him, I think. I don't know. You go back.
And it was Josh Norman too, and you know that guy talks a lot of shit. Josh Norman talks a lot of shit, man. I was just like, man, that was karma, right? That's what that was.
He's gonna be quiet in the locker room. They're gonna ask him like, Josh, why are you so quiet? And he's be like, my throat hurts or something like that. Or like, I don't know. Like, I don't feel too good. And they'd be like, oh, really? No.
Oh my God. Yeah, man. He definitely he took his soul. He really did. That was great.
One of the funny things I saw on Twitter was I showed Chrissy and we were dying laughing, but it showed him in the air sideways, and the caption was like I bet you wonder how I got here or something like that, or the caption that you always see all the time, like, yeah, that's me. I bet you wonder how I got here.
Oh my God. Bad. The memes have been good, man. They've been hilarious.
They're funny for us, but imagine like him trying to go on any sort of social media.
Oh man,
is everything.
You gotta feel for these people sometimes when they go on social media. The trolls are bad, man. It's pretty bad. I crack a joke here and there, but after I try to leave it alone. But there's some bad ones out there, and you're literally trending for that. That's pretty embarrassing. But he'll be all right.
Yeah, he'll be good. He'll be good. I mean, he gets paid enough money to be good. He's going to be on the field this weekend, so is what it is.
Exactly.
Sits of the week. I'll go first for mine. I said Carson Wentz versus Baltimore. So obviously in fantasy, defenses don't really, what they do in fantasy doesn't really equal how good or bad they are sometimes. But in fantasy, the Ravens defense is actually number 2. They had a rough game against Patrick Mahomes, but otherwise they've had 16 sacks, 3 interceptions, and 3 special teams touchdowns. So it's a good defense. I think Carson Wentz being the QB 18 right now, nobody expected Carson Wentz to be QB 18. He's having a bad year. Yeah, he's having a bad year. He has, Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey's gone, Dallas Goedert's, gone with injuries. Zach Ertz is struggling. He's got some almost, I don't want to say no name, but he's got some lower level name guys playing wide receiver for him. So that doesn't really help him.
It's pretty bad, yeah. No, and it's pretty bad.
I said 4 games for Ryan Tannehill, 9 touchdowns and 1 interception. If you look at Carson Wentz, he has 6 touchdowns and 9 interceptions.
Yep.
So he's having a rough go, and I think
it's bad.
I think you're sitting him. I think you're trying to stream. I'd try to pick up like Ryan Fitzpatrick or like I don't know Teddy Bridgewater, whoever, instead of having Carson Wentz this week against the Ravens defense.
Against that defense, no, definitely not. You definitely don't start him, especially with the interceptions that he's had. The Ravens defense, I mean, they got all these takeaways. Wentz is going to have a rough go of it, and it's even, I mean, you only have Sanders back there right now. Like, I can't even name half of the people on their offense. I can't name half of the people in their receiving core right now. So it's not looking good. So that's definitely a good sit. I wouldn't start him in any one of my leagues as of now. He's had some pretty bad games. So I definitely have to agree with you there.
What about you?
I'm gonna have to sit Bridgewater though.
When I mentioned him, I didn't mean this week. I was just saying like a streamer. So yeah. I was just saying like I was just trying to throw random names out, but I agree with you. So go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
I mean, any other week, I mean, there's nothing wrong with Teddy. I mean, he gets it done. Like Robbie Anderson, he's proved to be like a true wide receiver one. Like he's putting up crazy numbers. He's doing good. I mean, Mike Davis is just balling out. I don't know where it came from. I mean, McCaffrey came out and he's just like taking the opportunity. I don't know what's going to happen once McCaffrey gets back. I thought McCaffrey was playing this week. Now it kind of seems like that might not be the case. So. I'm not too sure. Because at one point he had projections for numbers and they said that, they were just going to evaluate him, but it looks like that he might be sitting out again. But Bridgewater against, the Bears defense this week, I just don't think that's a good look for him. We don't allow very many pass yards on the year thus far. I mean, we let Atlanta get loose on us a little bit. We were able to hold Brady to 20 points, which is crazy. I'm not really thinking that Bridgewater's going to have a big game. Pass rush has been okay. I think the pass rush, they were napping a little bit for the last couple of games. I think they woke up when they played against Brady this past week. I mean, even though Bridgewater is a little bit of a mobile guy, so he can get out there, but at the same time, I don't think that we're going to allow very many points against Carolina this week. So Bridgewater is probably going to be a sit for me.
I think it's going to be tough to score a lot of points against Chicago. Even if the Bears lose games, they're not getting blown out. It's just not the team that you're going to score 40 points on, 35 points on. So it's a tough place to play.
Exactly. It is. Bridgewater might do okay. I mean, if he got 15 points, on Sunday, I wouldn't be surprised because the dude, he definitely has talent, but he wouldn't be somebody that I would start this week.
Yeah. So, I agree with you on that. All right. So going into running backs, we can have you start this one off again too. Who's a running back that is a good play you think for this week?
So for me, I gotta go with David Montgomery this week.
Okay.
And I don't have Chicago bias, everybody. I'm not trying to bash Bridgewater because
they are 4-1 though. They are 4-1. Don't sleep on them.
And the thing about it is Montgomery, he's been able to put together some pretty good games, and honestly, he hasn't really even gone off like that. The dude had 18 points last week. I think he might have had 45 yards like total. And if you're
a lot of catches though.
Exactly, a lot of catches. If you're in a full point PPR, which most people are, it's just, I don't know. It's just a funner fantasy for everybody. I feel like personally, I think he's gonna get better and better. You got Foles that is actually, he's converting for us. Foles hasn't had like a real breakout game like as of yet to where he's throwing the ball all over the place and crazy.
It's that comeback game, but it was not even a full game.
Yeah, exactly. And but the thing about it is like he's slowly but surely starting to have some substantial drives to where he's keeping it alive. And I think with that, they're going to be able to mix it up a little bit more with Montgomery in the backfield. And I think he's finally starting to come alive. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to have him as a start for this week for sure.
Yeah, there were some concerns about Montgomery rushing the ball, yards per carry, his explosiveness. But at the same
Yeah,
time, if he's catching balls in a PPR league like he was this past game, I think he had like 7 catches or something like that. If he's catching
yeah,
balls consistently, that adds up points, and then throw in a touchdown here or there, and he's going to have some big weeks. So I
exactly.
think Carolina is a good team to play a running back against and be pretty confident. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I agree with that. My start of the week is going to be James Robinson, the rookie for the Jags against Detroit Lions. Detroit is been giving up decent amount of points to running backs. It's not a stellar defense. They're not like a flop
Right.
defense either. What I like about James Robinson, though, that gets talked about, but maybe not enough, is the amount of touches he gets all the time, the volume. So week 5, he had 18 touches. And when we talk about touches, just for some people listening, we're talking about carries and catches. So 18 touches last game. The week prior, week 4, he had 21 touches. And then week 3, he had 17. He's the current RB9, which is shocking a lot of people. So he's a top 10 running back. And he's another
Yeah.
guy that was a no-name running back coming into the system. Leonard Fournette's gone.
Yeah.
We thought it was
Hmm.
Raquel Armstead, and it's James Robinson. He just like we said with Montgomery, he catches the ball. He had 6 catches one week. He had 5 catches another week. So I think going to Detroit, you're not worried about them shutting down the running back. And I think he
Right.
is one of the biggest pieces of this offense. So I'm excited to play James Robinson this week.
That just automatically ups his stock. I mean, the fact that he can
Yeah.
catch the ball like that, and the funny part, like to hop back on Montgomery real quick. I mean, I'm pretty sure all of us as Chicago fans, we were like, man, can this dude even can he even catch? It's like now with Cohen out, he's being forced to
Yeah.
catch the ball and like have these pass plays, and I'm pretty happy with what he's been doing. Robinson, I mean, his emergence it's been nice, and seeing what he's doing. I mean. Minshew is playing with some confidence, but I don't know if that guy ever plays with any without any confidence.
No, I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's
I'm
possible.
pretty sure that dude. I'm pretty sure he feels like he can win every single game. Doesn't matter who it is that he's playing with. And I feel like if you're a young running back, you need that kind of confidence, like out of your
I agree.
quarterback too. And it's been nice to see what this dude has been doing. So yeah, I mean, I definitely have to say that he's a start. I mean, his numbers say so. And who do they got this week?
Detroit.
They're playing Detroit. Okay. Yeah. I think that'll be very solid. I think they could have a fun game.
I'll jump into my sit now, and then we'll go to yours right after. But my sit is going to be the Rams. Darrell Henderson versus the 49ers.
Mhm.
Henderson's actually been pretty good in the games that he got volume. This past week, he had a pretty good game. Probably was one of the better running backs from this past week. But the 49ers allow the second fewest fantasy points to running backs this year.
Yeah.
And so that's one concern to a degree. Another concern is the fact that they keep mixing in Malcolm Brown. Cam Akers is back. They keep mixing in Cam Akers. And I was reading from the ESPN app, and McVay said in the post game that Akers was the most efficient runner that they had this past game. So Akers didn't get
Mhm.
a majority of the touches, but if McVay's saying, hey, this guy's doing good with the touches that he gets, all it says to me is, hey, I wouldn't be surprised if this next week you're playing a tough 49ers defense that is banged up, but they're good against running backs. I'd say, hey,
Yeah.
what happens if Cam Akers is the guy that gets the touches this week, or maybe Malcolm Brown sneaks in for a touchdown? It's frustrating. So you have to look at projections, obviously, for running
Hmm.
backs. Henderson is the number one, I think, projected running back. But in my mind, it could easily be one of the other two guys. So I'm not taking any chances this week, and I'm sitting them.
You know what? I think that's good. I would do the same thing. Those Rams running backs out there in LA, they've been a little bit suspect this year. Akers is one of these dudes, man. I've been waiting for him to have his breakout game, and
Been
been
banged
waiting for
up.
him to. Yeah, he has, but I mean, the whole league has been like that this year. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty much on the outs with any running back for the Rams, which is crazy because I mean they've been winning games. I mean, but all of their receivers are good to go, and I feel like McVay, he's just been, they've been just finding a way to do it, drawing up some great plays out there. But their running backs, I don't trust any of them. So yeah, I'd have to 100% agree with you on that one, especially against a stingy San Francisco defense. I don't think that they're going to be able to do too much against them. That's for sure.
Yeah. So who is your guy that you would say is a sit candidate?
So my sit, I don't even know if this is going to be like a big surprise for people, but I'm definitely going with Melvin Gordon for this week. Melvin Gordon is definitely a sit. I think with everything that he's dealt with this week, dude might be a little hungover still. He may be a little emotional, had a little run-in with the law. That's never any good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll see. And then on top of that, you got Philip Lindsay coming back, and they're going to have to split a lot of snaps. And then you're playing against a New England defense, and I believe that they've allowed like 463 rush yards like all year. I know it's under 500 for sure. Mm-hmm. So they don't really give up a ton of rush yards. I mean, it's been, well, I guess you can't really say that because it's only been we're going into week 6. So what's that, about 100 a game in total? I mean, that's not the best, but a lot of teams have done worse. But at the end of the day, Belichick, they throw some pretty good defensive schemes out there. I don't think Gordon's going to be too much of a factor. I think he might be a little bit rusty. He's in the spotlight. I think it's just a bad week for him. He got in trouble with the law. His name has been in the news. I think Lindsay, you might be looking for him to carry a little bit more of the load or at least see some more touches this week. So I think Gordon is definitely going to be a sit for this week.
I agree with you, and I think it's going to be interesting to see what they actually do regarding him because they haven't suspended him or anything like that.
Yeah, he was at practice today.
Yeah, so I think like Fangio, he's the ex-Bears defensive coordinator. He's a tough, he's a tough guy. I think it's going to show some of his credibility though if he actually plays Gordon a lot. Because I think there's got to be some sort of disciplinary action. We all make mistakes for sure. I mean, we've all done stupid things in our lives, but we all pay for those stupid things or we have to learn from them. So if Melvin Gordon gets a DUI, so he was going crazy amount of miles per hour over the speed limit, he was drunk. I mean, he could put somebody else's life into jeopardy. I'm not trying to like get deep into this, but I'm saying though, if you don't punish this guy in some way, I think it shows what kind of like leadership you got over there. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be one way or the other. I wouldn't be surprised if he barely plays and it's a statement like, hey, our organization doesn't put up with this, or I wouldn't be surprised if they just ignore it. It's going to be one way or the other in my mind. And I don't want to take the chance if I have Gordon, like you're saying. I'm not taking the chance.
Exactly. I think at one point or another, like, there's got to be some kind of punishment. He's something, and yeah, whether that's him getting less play time this week, but I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know. Denver's not doing too great. I would imagine that they're going to be looking to get any kind of spark that they can to play, just because they're desperate.
True.
It's Fangio's first year over there as a head coach, so it's a toss up. But I'm still not going to take the chance to start that guy. Just because of everything that's gone down. But I mean, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you have to look at the situational factors sometimes when it comes to players making your determinations.
You do. You never know what these guys are going through.
Wide receivers for the week. Again, we talked about it earlier. There's so many wide receivers to choose from. It's the deepest position in the league for offense. I'll let you start off, man. Who do you have as a good start for the week?
So my start is definitely gonna have to be Justin Jefferson. Like, I know that there's a whole bunch of hype around this.
That was gonna be mine. I don't want to cut you off, but I said you got first dibs, and that might have been mine. So that was a good pick. But yeah, go ahead.
I'm glad that you gave me first dibs, man.
Go ahead.
Dude has just been exciting to watch. So far he's been exciting to watch. He's got everybody doing the little goggle dance thing or whatever it is that he was doing with the touchdown celebration. And it just seems like – exactly. It just seems like Kirk and Thielen, it just seems like they like playing with this dude. And and to my point earlier, with starting Cousins this week, I think they're going to throw the ball a lot. I think he's gonna continue to put together some good games. He didn't have a great game last week. But Seattle, it's a bigger game, and on top of that, it was wet outside, raining and stuff like that. So I think he'll have a nice bounce back game this week. So I would definitely start the dude, and yeah, he's fun. He's fun to watch. So we'll see what he does.
Yeah, I think he will have a for sure good week. And if he doesn't, then it's going to come down to your boy Kirk you talked about earlier. But I think both should have a good week against this team. They're set up nicely. So yeah, I'm going to go with Diontae Johnson versus the Cleveland Browns. So the talk of the world this past week, which you should have talked about it, but Chase Claypool had 4 touchdowns, right?
Yeah.
He had 3 catching, he had 1 rushing. What people don't talk about though is Diontae Johnson left the game pretty early, so that opened up the door for Chase Claypool. So I'm not taking anything away from Chase, but at the same time, he had an increase in opportunity because Diontae Johnson was out. I like Diontae Johnson. The last 2 games, though, he scored under 1 point because he left the game early for injury. So you're looking at Diontae and you're like, hey, this guy 2 games in a row is left because of an injury. But if you look at weeks 1 and 2, he had 10 targets week 1, which is a lot. And then week 2, he had 30, and then 13 in week 2.
So
he just increased, and he had six catches in week 1, and then he had 8 catches in week 2. So obviously there's a connection between him and Big Ben. I think he's getting more targets than Juju, but Juju had the touchdown upside. So he might get more targets than anybody on this team. He had 1 week where he was in the 20s for points. The Browns are the third. They give up the 3rd most receiving yards to the wide receiver position and the 3rd most touchdowns. So what that says to me is if Diontae Johnson is 100% healthy, if he's a guy that gets 10 to 12 to 13 targets from Big Ben, Big Ben is going to want to throw the ball against the Browns. That's a divisional opponent.
Absolutely.
So all I see is somewhere between 10 and 13 again targets for Diontae Johnson, a lot of yards and potentially a touchdown. So I'm automatically plugging him in, and I'm saying if he's healthy, he's having a great week.
I like that. And Ben's been spreading the ball around a lot this year so far. It's been nice to see him back on the field, nice and healthy and everything. Johnson's been playing well. So yeah, I definitely would have to say that he's a start. Because that they're going to throw the ball, like you said, especially going up against the Browns. I'm not too sure. Is Baker banged up? Is he? Do you know if he's playing or not?
He should be. He should be fine to play. Yeah, I think he was banged up a little bit, but I think he should be good to go for the game.
Okay, cool. Because I knew that he was hurt. I wasn't 100% if he was playing or not. But yeah, I'm looking for this to be a pretty high scoring game. So I think that's a great start. Honestly,
that's a good one. Who on the flip side here? Who's a guy that you are maybe avoiding starting this week, and why?
So
this is tough. It's tough. It's tough for this call because you can obviously say some like 3rd string wide receiver on a random team. I'm not starting. I don't know. I'm not starting. AJ Green or somebody like that.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I was definitely gonna go with AJ Green, but I feel like that's that's obvious. He's had an abysmal year. So I'm definitely gonna have to say I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to go with Parker. I think Parker's gonna be a sit for me this week. He's had some pretty good games. What was it? 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago, he had a 21-point game, which was pretty good. This past week, 13. That's not bad at all. Williams had the breakout game. It's pretty much either one of those guys is going to have a pretty decent game. But at the same time, I'm not a fan of the guessing game. of like which one of these
You got
guys I can
Gasecki
start.
in
Like
there too. Gasecki has some good games too, so he's taking away some targets as well.
he definitely has. He's emerged. He's emerged as the RB1 over there now. So I mean that's good. I mean, which is especially like we were expecting Jordan Howard to go over there and be the guy. I don't know what's going on with that. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to sit Parker, and that's probably just my bias because AJ Brown is back, and I'm stoked that Brown is back. I know that he's gonna definitely get targets. Well, Miami sometimes you just never really know. But that's
Preston
just me.
Williams, you mean, for Miami?
Oh, did I say Parker?
No, you said AJ Brown's back, but I think you mean Preston Williams back playing
Oh
good.
no, I meant for my bias for my own team.
Oh, okay, all right.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, but
Oh,
no,
I thought you meant somebody coming back from Miami. I was like,
no, but
no.
but at the same time, with Preston Williams back as well, like Williams had a good game last week, so you never really know like which one of those guys is going to have a game. But to me personally, I would bet on Williams. It just seems like that he's hitting his stride. But at the same time, it's going to be one of those dudes that I would sit just because, I just get you never know what you're going to really get. There's no real level of like consistency like out of those guys. So I would say Parker's a sit for me this week.
Yeah, I agree with you actually. And one of the things I think about too is who they're playing.
Miami,
the Jets.
They are playing the Jets. Okay.
Yeah. So in my mind, if it's a game that like, man, Miami is going to be chucking balls down the field, trying to catch up and trying to come back, you might be like, man, there's some good upside for Devontae Parker. But for me, maybe playing against the Jets means that Ryan Fitzpatrick can use Myles Gaskin, the running back, a little bit more. Maybe he can spread out the ball between a couple guys. Otherwise, if it was a game like, damn, Miami's down by 20, we need to just chuck balls down the field to Parker as much as possible. I think the game script won't need Devontae Parker to have a massive game. Could he have a big game? Sure. It's the Jets. They're not very good. But at the same time, you don't need Devontae Parker to have a great game for him or for the Dolphins to be very good. So I agree with you.
That's true. No, that's true. And they've been seeming to put up a pretty good amount of points this year, actually, without like a ton of production from their receivers. I mean, which is good. I mean, they're a pretty surprising team. They've actually played better than I thought that they would this year so far.
My sit, on the other hand here, is going to be Deebo Samuel versus the Rams. Deebo obviously had that foot injury, missed some games. He came back, had two not so great games, which you would expect from a guy coming back from injury. 7.5 and 4.2 points across two games. The reason, though, there's some concerning factors for this team. Deebo had 2 catches last game. If I had you guess how many targets would you guess an average wide receiver got if he caught the ball 2 times?
6.
6? All right. I'd say even 6 might be a little bit high, but he actually had 8. He had 8 targets. So they were looking to throw the ball to him 8 times, and he had 2 catches. I don't think it's necessarily on Deebo. I think the quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, was struggling, and they benched him for a little bit. And I think it had to do with some injury issues with him, but also not good play. But if the quarterback position is kind of up in the air right now, and the Rams, ESPN, you look at the player bios, and they'll give you a little, preview for the week, and they said that the Rams are the toughest team against wide receivers. Their defense is the toughest against wide receivers so far this year. It's only 5 games. But if the Rams defend the wide receiver position good, if the quarterback position for the San Francisco 49ers is struggling a little bit, and if Deebo is coming off an injury, I know he was a great player last year, and he will be good this year at some point. I'm just not comfortable because of those factors plugging him in. I think they're going to use Kittle a lot. I think that they're going to run the hell out of the ball. And I just don't see a game where we look back and say, man, I can't believe Deebo Samuel torched the Rams. I just don't think it's going to happen this week. And I
don't think it's going to happen either. No, I got to agree with you on that one 100%, man. I mean, you got Jalen Ramsey back there. You got Rapp. And their safeties are great. They don't. I mean, they definitely make it hard on the wide receivers back there. I mean, Garoppolo is going to have a great game. Like for me to say that they're going to get any real production like out of like their receiving core, especially out of Devo. And if his health is like a factor, because I have no idea why you would put Mullins back there. He's got to be banged up or at least trying to come back from something. So I definitely got to agree with you there. I feel like Ramsey in that secondary for the Rams, I think that can just be a little tough for any receiver, and especially if you're coming over off of a foot injury. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? So I definitely got to agree with you there 100%.
All right, let's go to the final position we have here. We have tight ends. Fontaine, the tight end position has been kind of up and down for a lot of guys, unless it's Travis Kelce or George Kittle or Darren Waller or Mark Andrews. A lot of these other guys have been very hot and cold. Jonnu Smith in that mix too. It's been frustrating. It's been frustrating. So it's tough sometimes to pick like, hey, I'm juggling between these two guys. He's been good one week. He's been bad one week. So tight end's kind of tough. So who's a guy that you're confident in this week?
Man, I don't even know if confident is the word. It's been rough. I feel like
got some decent vibes on this guy.
Yeah, I mean, well, I have vibes. I have vibes on him every year, man. It's Evan Ingram. Every year, I'm ready for Ingram to just have a game and to just break out and just get to that next level, because the dude, he has all the skills, he has the intangibles. I mean, he can catch the ball really well. And then what you got New York going up against Washington this week. So it could, I mean, they're playing one of these teams to where, I mean, they're not like Washington is not a good team. Like you can definitely have a breakout game. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to say Evan Ingram out of one of these guys. I mean, he's not a top tight end in the league by any means, but he's gonna be a start for me this week, and I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna see what he does. I'm hoping that he can finally have a good game, but yeah, that's also a little bit of my biased opinion as well. But I'm thinking like if he's gonna do it against anybody, it's gonna be Washington. Like we'll see what happens.
He does. We've seen some glimpses of him being very good. He's very athletic. I'm pretty sure he rushed a touchdown last week. He wasn't targeted a lot, but he rushed one.
He did.
But he's got some good abilities. I actually traded for him in Anthony's Dynasty League. I needed a tight end, and I was like, man, this guy, he's been hurt a lot, but he could ball out if they throw the ball better. So
they gotta give Jones some time, man. They gotta give some time to throw the ball.
That's an open gate. The offensive line just like opens the door and says, hey, come on in.
That's it. I'm just like, I don't know how you can have a quarterback. And like Daniel Jones, like he's a talented quarterback. You just gotta protect him. You gotta protect the guy.
And he gets knocked all the time. He does have to hold the ball better. He fumbles the ball out. But at the same time, when you're getting smacked like every single game, like
for real,
how do you expect this guy to hold the ball? Like I don't know.
And these are little guys, man. These are 350, 360 pound guys out there. They're huge, and that's rough. That's rough, man. Anybody can drop the ball back there. You're getting smacked around like that.
If I'm getting hit like that, the ball's getting loose, the helmet's coming off, and probably I'm losing my left shoe or something like that.
Me too, easily. I'm a bigger dude, but I'm not in good shape.
I mean, imagine getting hit like that. Jeez,
it's bad.
Tight end for me. We talked about him briefly earlier. Robert Tonyan versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm going to put an asterisk on this one, though, because I think he's either going to be very good this week or very bad and nothing in between. Nothing in between. He's either going to be a great start or a horrible start, which sometimes you got to take a dart throw. But him being a top 5 tight end for a guy that's emerging out of nowhere, they call him Baby Kittle is his nickname, because I think he's buddies with George Kittle. And he's balling out right now. Across the last 3 games. So across the last 3 games, Tonyan has 5 touchdowns. He had 3 the last game, and Aaron Jones, or not Aaron Jones, I'm sorry, Aaron Rodgers, the other Aaron, was going up to him, and you seen him going like this, 1, 2, 3. So he was like buddy buddy with this new tight end on the team, and he's like
Okay.
boosting the guy, and he's talking good
Okay.
about him. So obviously the touchdown regression might be there. He's not going to score, a
Mm-hmm.
touchdown every single game, but he is scoring a lot. So you love those points in fantasy. The other thing that I like a lot though about
Always.
him is over the last 2 games, I might have him mixed up. Actually, I think last game he had 6 targets and 6 catches. The game before that, he had 5 targets and 5 catches. So that percentage from target to catch is 100. So he's catching 100% of his targets. So if you throw him the ball, he's catching it. And I think even Aaron Rodgers said something like that, like he's catching everything.
Nice.
So Aaron
Nice.
Rodgers, you'd classify him as a vet, right? He's a veteran in
I
the
like
league.
that.
And
Absolutely. Absolutely.
the way to be successful as a pass catcher is to gain the trust from a veteran. So if
Mm-hmm.
he gains Aaron Rodgers' trust and catches all the passes or a majority of the passes he gives him, I think he's going to be very good. If Devontae Adams comes back and eats away, because Adams has been gone, you got to factor that in. But if
Mm-hmm.
Adams comes back and he like eats up 15 targets, I still think there's room for another guy to be good because I don't think MVS on that team is a good wide receiver. I might be speaking bad about a guy, but I don't think he's a great wide receiver. Allen Lazard's hurt. Adams was hurt. I'm in on
Mm-hmm.
Tanyan until he proves me wrong. When he proves me wrong, then I'll talk different. But he has not proved me wrong since he's been week 2 through 4, I think. So that's gonna be my start of the week.
I like that. No, I like that. I really do. I mean, you can't argue with him, man. I mean, he's top
But,
five in there right
yeah,
now, and like you said, he's building confidence. But Rodgers likes a player that obviously he feels like that he can trust. He's once he trusts you, he's gonna lock in. He's gonna give you the ball. All the great quarterbacks do that. Brady does it. Wilson does it. I mean, if you're a reliable guy, you got to go to. You got Mahomes with Kelsey. You're gonna get the ball. And I feel like with their wide receiving core as banged up as it is, it'll be nice for him to have somebody as reliable as this guy is to him. So that's good. So yeah, I definitely like that. I'm going to be paying close attention to him for sure. And if I can grab him somewhere, that would be fantastic. I'm going to be on the lookout myself. So I'm definitely happy that you've given me
who
this information.
who on the flip side is a tight end you're avoiding this week?
I'm going to avoid Hayden Hurst this week. Um, definitely going to avoid Hurst. His
I
numbers
agree with
haven't
you.
been very his numbers haven't been great at all this year. I mean, it just seems like I don't know. Matt Ryan, you would think that he would be one of these guys that would throw to his tight end a bunch, but he
He
doesn't.
used
He
to.
doesn't as much. He used to. I mean, back when Hooper was there, Hooper used to get a lot of points, but I mean, he's not there anymore. I was expecting Hurst to come out and do some things. You got Julio Jones coming back this week from injury, and I feel like Julio is going to be getting a lot of these catches. Todd Gurley has emerged a little bit in the passing game. He's been doing pretty well. He's been doing okay. Calvin Ridley being who he is, Hurst, I just don't see him being a person that I'm willing to start. Um, and Minnesota secondary is pretty good. They got a pretty solid defense. I mean, they could actually do pretty well. It might not, when I think about it on second thought, it might not be as much of a shootout as we think that it's going to be, or at least that I thought that it was going to be. I mean, but at the same time, that's probably what we're going to be looking at. But I think Hurst is going to be one of these guys that I would sit this week, in my opinion.
Yeah, he was a guy a lot of people were super high on coming into the season because they looked at
I
Austin
was,
Hooper. Yeah, they looked at
yeah,
Austin Hooper and they're like, man, he had this many targets this year. Hayden Hurst can come and grab him. And I was a guy who thought it was going to be Russell Gage, and I can look back at tweets and stuff like that, but I thought Russell Gage was going to
yeah,
be the third option, and he was the first like 2 weeks. He's kind of drifting off now, but yeah, I don't see a lot of reasons why you're comfortable on a weekly basis plugging in Hayden Hurst because he hasn't really broke out. He hasn't. He's had an okay game here or there. He's caught some
yeah.
balls, but he doesn't say, hey, I need to be started on a weekly basis. So I agree with you
hmm
with him.
Yeah, he doesn't give me the start on a weekly basis like at all. And I mean, even week by week, like what he's projected, like sometimes he just does. I mean, he does worse than his projections half the time. So I don't have any confidence in him at this point in the year. So yeah, he would definitely be a sit for me. Um, and then on top of that, he doesn't have, and on the flip side, I said that I would start Ingram. The reason why is because I mean Ingram, I just see Jones potentially trying to get him the ball a little bit more, and I just think that he's just more talented at the tight end position between
Yeah.
between those two personally. So
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. My sit of the week is kind of an obvious sit, but you might be like Chrissy, my wife. You know Chrissy, obviously. Chrissy texted me right before the live stream. She's like, "Hey, I'm thinking about picking up this guy and this guy off of waivers because Darren Waller is on a bye." And she sent me a screenshot of the people on bye, and
yeah,
I don't tell her pick up this guy right now. Like I'll be like, "Hey, I like this guy because of this. I like this guy because of this. I like this guy because of this." And then she makes a decision. I mean, she's actually like very, very strong, firm about it. I'm telling you, like she'll tell
hey,
me, is
that's
that
good.
Kelsey too, or what?
Nah, man, I
Oh,
tell
all
Kelsey
right.
you pick this
Oh,
dude
all right,
right
all right.
now.
Well, sometimes I'll say that something like that, like, "Oh my God, this guy's on waivers. Pick him up," and she'll look at him and she'll be like, "No, I don't like what he did in week 3," and then she'll like go on to the next guy. I'm like, "All right, all right." But yeah, so the reason I'm
At least,
saying that
yeah.
this guy is a sit is because he is a guy you might stream. Drew Sample from the Cincinnati Bengals. Um,
Mhm.
he week 2 he had 9 targets and he caught 7 passes. In week
Nice.
4 he was targeted 5 times and he caught 3 balls. Last game he had 2 targets for 2 catches. The thing
Mm,
is, he's scored above 10 one time this season. I mean, he wasn't the starter week 1, but he
mm.
scored above 10 points one time this season. The Colts
Okay.
D is top 2 against tight ends in points and yards. So the Colts D doesn't give up a lot of points to tight ends. And again, I mean, it's 5 weeks of football. We can't say that that's going to be the same thing all year. But if they're not really allowing the tight end to be successful, and this guy is really not performing great in fantasy, he's going to be a guy that I'm looking at, streaming somebody. I got Darren Waller on a bye week. I got whoever else is on. I got Jared Cook on a bye week. I'm not going to stream Drew Sample. I'm going to avoid him at all costs. And and one of the things that I like out of my tight ends, and maybe I'm different from you with this, but one of the things I look for in a tight end are targets. And if a guy's only getting like 2 targets, 3 targets, 2 targets, I'm not trusting that. That's why like
Nah.
Jared Cook's interesting. He's on a bye, but he has some
Hmm.
huge weeks, but he doesn't get a lot of targets sometimes. I like guys like, look at Darren Waller or George Kittle. We can't expect to
Yep.
have those tight ends, but you would want your tight end to at least get maybe 5, 6 targets a game. Evan Ingram, 2 weeks ago, he had a large target share. So I think when you're looking, I guess this is a bigger picture thing, not just a Drew Sample thing. I think bigger picture. If you're looking to stream a tight end, look for a guy that's getting a good target share. A good target share. That's all.
Absolutely.
That's all you got to look for. So,
No, you're right about that. You're right
yeah,
about that. Not
yeah,
one hundred
that's it.
percent. And that's good advice because sometimes you might have a tight end that you think, okay, cool, like I like this guy for whatever reason, but if he's getting anywhere between 2 to 4 targets out of the game, that's not going to be somebody that you're going to want to start in fantasy. So you definitely make a good point there. And that's part of my reason with Ingram is that he's treated more like a wide receiver on the team with the amount of targets that he gets versus just like a third option on the team. He's treated like a 1 or 2 for majority of it. Like sometimes I've he'll have more targets than what's the guy, Golden Tate. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
pretty good. It's pretty good.
And
I like
and you
that.
have to look at trends too. Like I was writing off Austin Hooper earlier this season. I said he's having terrible weeks. He's not getting the ball. But I don't have the stats in front of me. But the last few weeks, the last
It's
two
been
weeks,
suspect.
his target share is actually going a little bit up now, a little bit up. So again, for tight ends, follow some trends, look at their target share, look at their production, and
Hmm.
it's a tough position. It might be the toughest
Hmm.
position to sort out sometimes.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. It really is. It really is. Out of all the positions in fantasy, tight end is it's definitely the toughest. And you never know what you're going to get week in and week out. But once you get a guy that's solid, you definitely want to try to hold on to that dude, because you never know when he's going to start to break out. And that's usually the position where it happens. It happens quick, like with Tanya.
yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
So we are a little bit over the hour mark here, so we'll probably wrap things up.
Okay.
Fontaine, if people were digging everything you were saying today, they listen to the live stream. Where can they find you on Twitter?
Oh yeah, as well. So you can find me on Twitter at Fontaine. I should have put my at name at the
I
bottom
think
of
I
the
think I
screen
think
there.
it's @_Fontaine.
At underscore
I
Fontaine.
tagged
Thank
you in
you.
this live stream, so I think it's
And
on
I
there.
and I appreciate it. So I'm pretty sure it's good there, even though I forgot to put my name there in the little box. I'll make sure that I do that next time. But yeah, you can find me there. So that's cool. And if anybody wants to follow me, be on the lookout for some content coming here soon within the next couple of weeks. I'm going to be starting a podcast. We're going to get some things going. So that's going to be nice. So really just waiting to get that. Underway. We're going to be talking about pop culture, sports, a little bit of music, everything.
Cool.
So I got a move coming up here pretty soon, and then after that, I'm going to be getting that going. So if anybody wants to follow me and get some updates with that, it's fantastic.
Cool. Yeah, and I highly suggest it. Fontaine is just a good person in general. Very entertaining when it comes to Twitter because you talk about everything. You talk about sports, just like real life stuff, everything. So you're a good
Yeah,
follow. And I
yeah,
will
yeah,
say I
yeah.
will say that obviously a good friend of mine, but I will say I'll hit you up again very soon. We can get some more shows going with you coming on P2W Fantasies podcast and talk some football because I know you and me
Of
love
course,
talking it. So
always, man. Of course, I'm always down, and we'll talk. We'll get it together.
always,
It'll be
always.
good for sure.
This live stream, it'll be hanging out on Twitter. It'll be up and going on Apple and iTunes and all those things probably tomorrow morning, and I'll probably advertise that later on in the day tomorrow. But yeah, we'll wrap things up there. If you guys were watching us live, or you still are watching us live, we got a couple guys in here. Have a good night, and thanks, Fontaine.
Thanks for having me on, man. Have a good night, everybody.